Hey guys, I want to unpack this video I saw trending on TikTok that is, it makes it seem as though the Bible is contradictory or that there is a superior Bible translation over the next. But I want you to watch this video and then we're going to unpack this, okay?
All right, so Macy found a TikTok saying that there is certain scriptures missing out of different Bibles. So we had to check our Bibles. Christian Standard Bible, this verse is Matthew 17:21. And on this one, it goes straight from 20 to 22. Does not have 21.
It's a new
NIV.
NIV.
And Matthew 17:20, right over 21 to 22.
And then New King James.
This is my Bible, King James Version. Matthew 17:21, of course, it's there. Howbeit this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. This is my mom's Bible from way back when. Matthew 17. I said it's probably underlined, and sure enough, this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. So the conspiracy theory is that there's so much power in prayer and especially fasting that they're leaving it out of the Bibles. Check your Bible.
Okay, so the objection in this TikTok video is that they're comparing the CSB, the NIV, with two potential NKJV or KJV Bibles and saying that Matthew 17:21 is left out in the modern translations and is included in the not modern translations, which the KJV is not necessarily a modern translation. And they're saying that it's a conspiracy because there's so much power in prayer and fasting. Let me quickly debunk what is happening here and that this is not a big issue. And it's honestly, it's just a silly video. And there's so many different things to talk about, but I'm going to quickly unpack this as best as I can. So in my modern Bible translations, or in Bible translations at all, there is two major categories, if you will, source categories for the manuscripts on how Bibles are translated. There's the Textus Receptus, which is the Erasmus's version of the Greek New Testament, which was produced in the 15th century with the translation of the 1611 KJV. And this is using no more than a half a dozen manuscripts dating no earlier than the 10th century. Now, the modern Bible translations like the CSB, ESV, NASB, and stuff like that, they use what's called the critical text, which uses about 5,700 manuscripts. Now, with all of those manuscripts, which is in the Greek language, this is specifically for the New Testament now, there's differences between both source categories of these manuscripts. But what's funny, though, is that about 98% of the time, both of these manuscripts agree. Now, this is obviously a section in which they don't agree, in which some translations have and other translations don't. So the question, why do some have it and some do not have it? One, it's not a conspiracy. The reason why one translation has it and the other does not have it is because of the source of the manuscripts used for translating that specific Bible translation. And this is in the world of what's known as textual criticism. And it's important for you to know because this helps you understand why the New Testament is reliable. Now, New Testament textual criticism, or textual criticism as a whole, is when you study the copies of any written document, right? You study the copies of any written document to see what are the variations to determine the exact wording of the original. And that's vital for the New Testament because it helps us identify what the original most likely said, since we don't possess any of the original documents on either category here. And no two copies are completely the same. And usually you'll find about 10 differences per chapter, and that's not a big deal. Now, most of these variations that you'll see in the New Testament, about 70% of them come down to spelling differences. Basically coming down to removing a letter at the end of a word if the next word in the Greek language begins with a vowel. But it doesn't matter. Let's not talk about that. But what I'm telling you is that these variations, it's common and it's not a big deal. Now, in this specific section of the text, the reason why some translations have it and others do not is because the manuscripts for this translation in the modern critical texts is using two different codexes that go back to the 4th century. You have the Codex Sinaiticus and then the Codex Vaticanus. And so they're basically, it's where they're located at, right? So one's located in the Vatican. And verse 21 did not appear in either of those ones, which date towards the 4th century. Now, the variation that is included in the KJV tradition is from the manuscripts dating back to the 7th-ish or so century. And this is from the Byzantine text, and this was done where these individuals who did these translations were trying to make the translation manuscripts conform to that of the Byzantine texts, and also with the Syriac manuscripts. Now, the reason why modern translations leave it out, it's not a conspiracy. It's because there's much earlier and more reliable manuscripts to show that the external evidence is pretty substantial as to why we should not have that included in the Bible. Now, the important item here is whether it's included or excluded in the text, it really doesn't matter, because in no way, shape, or form is this affecting any kind of Christian doctrine. In fact, what actually happened here was that the scribe that has this 1721 included in the text was doing it from a parallel passage in Mark chapter 9, verse 29. And usually what had happened is the scribes and copyists would try and allow the Gospels to align, if you will, and put filler information in. So it's from Mark chapter 9, verse 29 included into this section. But in no way is this a conspiracy, and in no way does this negate the reliability of the New Testament, nor does it contradict it, nor should it get you to be scared about it. It's just how we go about understanding our modern Bible translations. Hopefully this helps, and hopefully you see how just silly that video is. If you got other videos like this that you've seen, send them to me. I'd love to unpack them for you. And yeah, see you guys next time.